Mark Thompson had been a veteran ranger guarding the Kalahari border for more than 10 years. Now his wrists were bound in iron, the shackles pulling him taut between two trees. He stood with his arms outstretched. "Help! Somebody help me!" He screamed until his throat went raw, but no answer came. The barren plain at the edge of the desert lay empty. Mark, who'd been tracking poachers, had been captured and abandoned here to die. A dust cloud rose on the horizon. A huge herd of drought-driven buffalo thundered toward him like a dark wall. Even for an experienced ranger, this was unheard of. There was no escape, no shelter. The plane rolled away to the horizon in every direction. His hands were bound. Mark closed his eyes slowly. This is the end. Then, at that instant, a deafening roar split the air. Mark's eyes snapped open in disbelief. With its golden mane whipping in the wind, a colossal lion, 1.5 times the size of a normal male, loomed before him, an overpowering presence. The memory of what had happened a month earlier washed over Mark as though it were only moments past. It was the Kalahari border at dawn. Mark Thompson had set off on his usual beat when a low, agonized sound reached him from somewhere nearby. Past a wire fence, a huge shape was shifting. A lion, 1.5 times the size of an ordinary male, was tangled in barbed wire and bleeding. The wire had cut deep into its shoulders and flanks. Mark's thoughts fought between protocol and compassion. Solo rescues of dangerous animals were forbidden. But at that fragile hour, waiting for backup might mean the lion's death. Mark inhaled, steadied himself, and moved incautiously. The lion fixed him with eyes full of pain, too weak even to roar. Mark's hands shook as he worked the barbs free, cutting strand by strand. 15 minutes crawled by. At last the final wire fell away. He administered emergency care, though the animal clearly needed further treatment. After a moment's thought, Mark implanted a small tracking chip into the lion's flank. The beast rose slowly. In the morning light, its enormous bulk became clear. For a long beat, the lion looked at Mark wordlessly, then tottered away into the grass. Mark watched that retreat with equal parts fear and worry. 3 days later, it was obvious the injuries needed more attention. Mark resolved to handle it alone. That evening, when his shift ended, he switched on his GPS and followed the tracker. The signal showed a spot roughly 5 kilometers from where he'd freed the lion. After bumping along dirt tracks for a few minutes, he saw a huge shadow tucked beneath some rocks, the lion. As he drew near, the animal hauled itself upright with a sudden, harsh growl. The immense male stepped forward in a clear warning. "Stay back." Mark froze. He dropped to one knee and set his medical pack on the ground, raising both hands slowly to show he meant no harm. The lion kept growling but did not lunge. Mark unzipped his bag, took out antibiotics, antiseptic, and some meat, placed them carefully on the ground, and took a step back. The lion advanced 2 cautious steps, and then its gaze locked on Mark's. A long hush settled. The animal stared as if trying to recall, to weigh what this man meant. After a few tense moments, it turned its head and sniffed at the offerings. Mark retreated quietly. From that day forward, he began visiting 2 or 3 times a week, always at dawn or dusk, keeping the meetings secret from his colleagues. At first, the lion stayed wary, but gradually the distance closed. The animal began to tolerate, and then accept, Mark's touch. One day, 2 lionesses joined the male. His family had arrived. When he gave a low call, the females relaxed as well, as if acknowledging, "This human helped us." A month went by, and a firm bond had grown between Mark and the pride. At the last check, the wounds were nearly healed. Mark applied antiseptic one final time and ran his hand gently over the lion's vast mane. He rose to leave, paused, looked back, and smiled softly. After taking a few steps, he glanced over his shoulder. The lion still watched him, the females standing close by. Mark waved once, then turned and headed toward his. Mark watched as the lion rose and disappeared into the tall grass with the lionesses. He remained inside his vehicle for a long while, staring after them until they were completely out of sight. His chest felt strangely hollow. And now that same massive lion stood before him again, the great beast blocking an oncoming herd of buffalo. Mark stared in disbelief. It was the very lion he had treated a month earlier. The leading buffalo did not slow. Crash! The lion and buffalo slammed together. A horn scraped along the lion's shoulder. Blood flew, but the giant lion didn't retreat. Its enormous paw whipped out like lightning, striking the buffalo across the neck. The buffalo staggered. No ordinary lion could have done this. But this lion was different. Its sheer size came with unmatched power. The lion unleashed another thunderous roar. And then something extraordinary happened. Mark turned to see 3 lionesses stepping forward, forming a protective circle around him. The same family he had spent a month caring for. The entire pride had come to shield Mark. Even though they were tired and thirsty, the buffalo sensed primal fear before the united lion family, especially before the colossal male. The herd could advance no further. After a tense standoff, they turned and fled. The ground trembled again, and dust whirled through the air. Then silence returned. As the dust thinned, the massive lion walked toward Mark. It studied the chains binding his wrists, then opened its jaws. Crack! Crack! With its immense strength, the chains broke apart. Mark's hands were finally free. "Thank you." His voice shook, tears filling his eyes. His legs collapsed under him. After being restrained for so long, he had no strength left, and his ankle had been injured when the poachers captured him. The massive lion lowered its body before him. A lioness gave a soft growl and gestured toward its back. Mark slowly climbed onto the lion. He wrapped his arms lightly around its body. Warmth radiated through him. The great lion stood up, and the lionesses walked beside them like guardians. Together, the lion family and Mark began their slow return to camp. Heat from the lion's body eased the ache in Mark's legs. The lion moved gently, taking care with every step. Mark's fear gradually faded, riding on a predator's back, yet he felt no danger. Instead, he felt safer than he ever had. The sunset washed the Kalahari in crimson light. An old memory surfaced. Being carried on his father's back as a child, drifting to sleep, it had been just as warm, just as comforting. Mark's eyelids grew heavy. He rested his face softly against the lion's neck and drifted into a deep sleep. Night deepened over the Kalahari, but one man and a lion family continued their quiet journey. A soft call from a lioness stirred Mark awake. He opened his eyes slowly. The faint glow of the camp appeared in the distance. They had made it. Mark gently slid off the lion's back. His ankle still ached, but he could manage. He placed both hands on the massive lion's head. The lion remained still, looking at him. Mark pressed his forehead to the lion's and shut his eyes. "I thought I was the one who saved you," he whispered shakily. "But the one who was saved was me." The lion released a deep, lingering call, a farewell. Mark slowly stepped back. The lion watched him for a long moment. The lionesses stood quietly, their eyes fixed on him as well. Then the great lion turned away. Mark remained there, watching until they vanished. He lifted his hand and gave a small wave. Then he limped toward the camp. A smile and tears shared space on his face. Sometimes the life we save ends up saving us, he thought. A friendship beyond species. A trust that needed no words. A gratitude that time could never erase. This was the lesson this vast land had given him, somewhere in the heart of the Kalahari Desert. If this story touched your heart, please like and subscribe. More uplifting stories are on the way.